Okay, so welcome everybody. For those of you who I haven't met before, my name is Garland Colson. I'm known as Captain Time. I'm the founder of Captain Time Training and of Virtual Assistant Mentors. So that's what I do. I teach time management. My clients are around the world. So I'd be interested to hear about what you guys do and what your interest is in perhaps working with a virtual assistant.
Okay, I'll go first. Well, I'm pretty busy professionally, but looking to do some entrepreneurial side work and have tried using a VA through a service once and really didn't work out, partly because I didn't know what I needed. And the person on the other end didn't really know what to deliver or wasn't capable. And so it was, I just even started just with travel, just having someone to help with travel. But there were some limitations there. So I work in the fertility space and did a lot of traveling.
Right.
Now I'm not.
Yeah, the whole COVID thing has certainly affected a lot of people's travel plans. I was supposed to be displaying at a conference in Las Vegas last week, and I'm not there. So.
Yeah, I'm not really complaining though.
No.
As much as, I travel more than I probably should, so it's good not to.
Right. Lori, if you're still there, do you want to share?
Well, it sounds like the same thing for me. I have a freelancer in the content strategy space, and I also have a side business, which is, of course, I want to be my main business, which is going to happen. I'd like to launch it by next year. And I also have a second side business in the media space, Drum Talk TV. And we've used virtual assistants. We have a following of about 1.5 million people on all of the social stuff. And, we built it up pretty quickly in 3 years. And we advised to the North American music manufacturers, which is NAMM. So I've got basically 3 major projects. One is my freelance agency. One is my pride and joy, which is called No Small Life, which helps young adults identify their path and find their powers. But also with their parents, because their parents don't know how to guide them if they're creative people as opposed to a lawyer or a doctor.
Yes.
So, basically, I'm going to be working with, I imagine myself working with a whole bunch of virtual assistants and until I can grow the business in probably 3 to 5 years when my parents are safely ensconced in assisted living. So.
Great. Okay. So feel free to ask questions as I'm going through this when things come up, because with a small group, we can do that. It works out really well that way. And my reason for setting up this session, how to work with a virtual assistant, is exactly what you guys are talking about. So people get busy. They know they need help. Virtual assistants is often the first thing they turn to. My time management coaching clients, I highly recommend they get a virtual assistant, but they're often not really quite ready for it, because then they try to do it and it just doesn't work, and they get frustrated. And so some of the common struggles that you have are, first off, we might not have thought out the task assignment properly. So we might have just sort of throw it at them, and we're not really sure what we want. We just want somebody to help. We just want someone to take the load off us. So we just kind of throw the assignments out there without really thinking them through. Communication's a problem. Often they'll ask us a question and we take 2 or 3 days to get back to them, or we're not communicating clearly to them what we expect. Or in some cases, there are people in other countries who have a different language as their first language. So there might be a language barrier that we're working with. And we might just be so busy we can't even plan what the heck are we supposed to give a VA, and we're not really supervising them because we don't think of them as employees. So we're not following that. And many of us don't have good quality task management systems or even task processes in place. Many of us have never really documented our processes we use. or we might even have the wrong virtual assistant, which all of these are really quite common things. So we're going to show you how to fix it.
All of the above for me.
Yeah, it sounds like you could name this webinar "All the Messy Bits."
Right.
People don't think about.
So one of the first things is to start figuring out what tasks are suitable for a virtual assistant. So one of the tips I use for this is every time I look at a task, I analyze it first and I say, do I have to do this, or could somebody else do this? Is this like the highest priority thing? Only I can do it. It's got to be my level. And the answer in most cases is no. For other than the top level partnerships and the top level training that I want to do myself, most of the tasks I do in a day can easily be done by a virtual assistant. So you want to find those tasks. Then what you want to do is you want to find a way to be able to find those tasks later on. You want to be able to tag them. And most good quality task management systems allow you some system for tagging. They might be called other things like labels, they're called in Trello, or categories in Outlook, but there's usually a way to designate something. Tag is quite common in many of them too. And so I tag a task as a virtual assistant, even if I don't yet have a virtual assistant who can take it, because eventually I don't want to be doing that task every day. So then you basically, when you have a virtual assistant, you start calling up all the virtual assistant tag tasks to find ones you can delegate. So that's really the first step, is finding a task, finding tasks to give them. And sometimes too, we get frustrated because our virtual assistant, you get a really good virtual assistant, you give them 4 or 5 tasks, they blow through them, and then they come back and they're bugging you for more, and it's annoying, it's frustrating because you don't have the next one ready. So this tagging system really helps you say, oh, wow, they finished that early. Well, I could also give them these, rather than now your virtual assistant twiddling their thumbs and not able to help you. So you need a good quality virtual assistant delegation system. So are you guys both using a task management system right now? Dean, what are you using for managing your tasks?
That's a long pause. It's been a lot of different things over the years, and I can't say it's one thing right now. I'm using a Remarkable tablet.
Okay.
And so I'm basically just keeping notes, and that works fairly well because it's, well, yeah, but I'm still not where I want to be.
Okay. Lori, what are you using to manage your tasks?
Okay, well, I am a tech junkie for 20 years, so
awesome.
I've used probably everything for 5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. And so the latest one was Notion, and
yes.
For various teamwork, they've all had their own, like Slack and this and that. But an interesting one I came across. I'm a member of AppSumo, which is a web developers Groupon, and they came out with something last week called Process.io.
Okay.
And they've got templates and they've got all this stuff to help me work out what are the steps. But my problem is that I'm in the visionary area, and I get annoyed. Well, I don't mean that. Well, yes, I do. Anyway, so for figuring out what are all the steps, what comes next, what are the things to check off. So, I've been looking at their templates, but it's really how you build the project, manage the project, think about the project. All those things are the hard parts about any kind of task management thing.
Yeah, and so a good quality like delegation system or task management system consists of two parts: the technology that you use and you, like, using it properly. You're part of the system, and it fails when we aren't using the system fully. So any of the systems will work. Like, I mean, there's tons of them out there. We'll talk about some of them in a minute, but almost any good quality task management system will work if a person uses it and stick to it. Now, the reason that I suggest a good quality task management system rather than, say, jotting notes on a piece of paper is that it makes you follow proper delegation practices. So when you delegate something to someone, you don't want to just say, yes. You want to give them a due date, a priority level, detailed instructions, so that they can work it into their day. So if you give them 10 things and they come back to you and they've finished 5 and you go, wow, that was finished really quick, but they worked on the 5 things that were the least important, right? Because you didn't tell them I needed these 5 things done first. So this is why having some sort of a task management system is critical. And I'm not a fan of using email for task management because emails, well, there's nightmare to them. I can go
right.
why you should never use email for delegation. But essentially, your tasks, your files, your attachments, your information is scattered across tons of emails over months, and you can't find them again.
Yeah.
Task management system, all the comments, all the files, and everything can be attached to that. So that's another reason why I highly recommend a good quality task management system. And it also lets you link to any process documentation if you have it in place. We're going to talk about process documentation, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to get that done really quickly. So this is why you need a system. It doesn't matter which one it is, but like Notion will work for this. Teamwork, I've used Teamwork as well. I've done tons of training on Teamwork.
Oh, yeah.
Is one I use regularly. It's one I've been using till recently. I'm testing a new one right now. So I test, when I test a new one, I test it fully. I move all my projects in it, all my tasks, and I immerse myself in it until I can break it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what I use. So the Process IO, I'm not even sure if I looked at. I'm a member of AppSumo as well. And Dean, this is AppSumo is probably a good thing for you to join as well if you want to look at it. AppSumo, it's what Lori said. It's kind of like a Groupon for software. So essentially what they do is they have up and coming new software people, and they often give you a lifetime membership to something for about $49 or so, something that would normally cost $10 to $20 a month. Yeah. So I switched from, for example, I used to use, I think it was TubeBuddy for my YouTube marketing, and I switched from that to Tubix, which now cost me a $49 one-time fee, and I never have to pay again. So it's nice to look out for. Now, they're not, everything in there isn't always good. Like sometimes you try them, oh, they're crappy. But AppSumo is really good about doing refunds if you do it within a reasonable time. So I've never had a problem getting a refund from AppSumo as well. So.
Yeah.
So that's why you need a system, and as I mentioned, and almost any system will work. It's why I'm not going to force. I never force any of my clients into a system. There's Trello, there's Notion, as Lori mentioned. There's Asana, there's
Monday, yeah.
Trello is a really nice one if you're starting out because it's very visual. This is a screenshot of Trello. There's cards on a board, and you can drag the cards to different areas. You can color code the labels, so this would be how you could label it for a virtual assistant. You can assign tasks within the system to a virtual assistant. You can add a hyperlink, so you could link to your processes. You can create checklists right within the cards, which is really nice. So that's another way of documenting things for checklists. So it's a nice one. Notion is another one that Lori mentioned, and this is a template I threw together in Notion. What I like about Notion is Notion lets you build your own, so you can build them in table form or in Kanban form. So Kanban form is like that card form, like what Trello uses. You can work either way. And Notion kind of is like a wiki meets tables and databases. So it's a neat system for putting your own stuff together, and it's quite easy to use, and it's intuitive, and you see here, I've been able to set up like a status, is it blocked? What's going on? The focus level, do I need deep focus for this one? What projects it with, and tags and things like that. So it'd be very easy.
Wow, that's beautiful. I like how you've done that.
Yeah, there's a link, if you go to my YouTube channel after, Lori, you'll find, I've got a whole 3 or 4 Notion videos. I've got a Notion playlist there that will you can find this one. I also did one for time blocking as well, or if we have time at the end, I can show you.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
So that takes us to, so you need a system. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you can delegate easily to this. Now, the other benefit of delegating in these systems is, let's say I've delegated this follow-up and accounts receivable to my virtual assistant. She can then, or he can then put a comment on here and say, completed to such and such date, here's an outstanding list. They can connect to a report. So it's all in one place and I can see it. And you can check it off when it's finished. So you can filter this list by project. You can filter it by due date. You can filter it by status. You can filter it by who it's assigned to. It's really powerful the way you can filter all these things. Now, process documentation, and this is like probably everybody's groaning at this point. Like, I don't have time to document it. I just I want to give it to the virtual assistants, but I've got a trick.
That's the thing. I'm looking for a virtual assistant to do all this, because the last screenshot just made my mind twirl. So
awesome. So anyways, so yes. Process documentation is really just step-by-step documentation of how to do a task. The simplest form of the documentation, and the one I highly recommend you start with, is a checklist. I am the checklist king. If I go camping, I have a checklist. If I'm presenting, I have a checklist. If I'm traveling, I have a checklist. And it saved my butt so many times, because the checklist makes you stop, sit down, go step by step, and remember everything. So you don't end up camping without a can opener, or traveling without your medication, or any of the other things that you might miss. Checklists are fantastic. Some things like Trello have checklists built right in. You can also kind of build them into Notion. If you want just a really simple checklist and outlining program, I highly recommend Dynalist. Dynalist is a lovely, just a really quick way to do outlining and checklists, and I use it for tons of stuff. Now, you can also put together, like if you're doing something on the computer, you can take a screenshot and then you can put text with it. You can do this in something like OneNote, or or Word, or whatever you want. Or if it's something you're doing that's not on a computer, like say how do you set up a room for an event, you can take pictures. So and again, put that with text instruction. My trick that I love to do is I love video documentation. Video documentation is so easy. So first off, I do a video screen capture using a tool called Loom, Loom, and it's free. So Loom lets you basically capture whatever's going on in your computer screen while you do a voiceover. So you do it once and say, well, here's how to add a new article in WordPress. Here's how to do keyword research. And you just capture it. And then Loom hosts it for you. Now you can download it as well. So it's it's in a regular format. It's MP4 format. So it's not some weird proprietary video format. But Loom also gives you a link to that video that you can then just send the link to your VA, or put the link in your task management system. So it's brilliant. It saves me so much time doing this video capture. And again, you can do a video of things like if you were doing cooking recipes, you can do video of that as well. So video is not just for screen capture. I had a First Nations organization that I did a website for gifted me with 2 sockeye salmon. And I had not cleaned a fish in 20 years. And I'd never cleaned a sockeye salmon. So I went to YouTube, called up a how-to video, and that's how I did it. So it worked out pretty decent. First was a little iffy, second one worked better. But video is just the way to do this. Now, if there is no documentation in place, the other trick is to have your VA create it. So you can talk them through how to do it, but say, now that you've done it, I want you to document everything you do. And that way, if your VA, you move them on to new tasks and you get a new VA in, because you usually start your VAs on simple tasks, you've now got the documentation in place. Or if you lose your VA, they can no longer work for you or something, you've got the documentation. So this is a really important step, is to thinking, how can I document everything? And it doesn't always have to be you, it can be your VA. And
that made me happy. Okay.
And so tools, checklists, I mentioned Dynalist, Trello, most task management systems let you do subtasks or checklists. Teamwork, the other one you mentioned, I used to love because it did whole templates. So you could set up, if I had 66 different tasks relating to setting up a new website, I could create a new task list and insert from template, and bang, it would drop in 66 tasks. So you can do something similar in Dynalist or Trello by just keeping clean, checklists, and then just copy them over when you need them. For screenshots and text, you could use OneNote, Google Docs, Process Street.
Yeah.
Sorry?
There it is, Process Street, the one I forgot to mention Street. So you have it already.
Okay, there you go. So video documentation, I mentioned Loom. Loom is brilliant. It really is. We haven't seen our grandkids in a while because of the COVID, lockdown, right? But what I do is my wife and I are each finding an online storybook that we can read, and then we're doing a voice and a video with Loom.
Beautiful.
And Loom lets you do the screen capture, and you also have the choice of whether you want your face to show in the video or not.
Oh my goodness.
Where do you find the online storybooks?
Oh, look them up online. There's a few different places, but trying to think of which ones I've used. I found 2 or 3 free ones. There's like a open free kids library that I found, and it's quite neat because you turn the page, so they see the page turn on the screen, and there's me talking there, and so their mom says that the kids just love the fact that they can still get a story read to them by grandma and grandpa, and of course the video's there permanently, right? So they can, this can be something they can use for years to come. So
great.
And my wife and I are somewhat animated when we read them, so we're not sharing these on YouTube. But
I love it.
but they are really fun to do.
My family's in Wisconsin mostly, and I'm in New Zealand, so that would be outstanding.
Wow.
Well, there's also a song that's commonly sung at scout camps. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called Ging Gang Gooly Gooly.
Gosh, I probably recognize it. I've done a lot of scout stuff. I don't remember it exactly.
Anyways, apparently because jamborees, I think they're called, or whatever, would often have people together from different countries who didn't speak the same language. So the problem with singing a song when most of the people don't speak the language doesn't work. Sure. So some scout leader at one point made up this song. It goes, Ging Gang Gooly Gooly Googly Gooly Watcha Ging Gang Goo. And it's a really funny song, and my wife sings it really animated. And the first time she sang it for the grandkids, they just cackled. They just howled with laughter. So my wife also did, using Loom, we also did the video of her singing that as well. So.
Boy, that could be used for ransom. That's pretty cool.
That could be, and I may use that. My wife already gets upset because I threw a really weird picture of her, like, one time in one of my presentations. When she was there, of course, I did it deliberately. So another thing to remember when you're dealing with virtual assistants is to give careful thought to your passwords. Now, they're going to need access to your website. They're going to need access to, a lot of the tools you're using. If possible, and it's not always possible, create separate passwords for the tools at a lower level for your virtual assistant until proven. So WordPress, for example, if you're using that, lets you create an editor level password that you can do, and you can change it after that virtual assistant's no longer working with you. And that way they don't have full control over everything. And you want to break the virtual assistants in slowly. You don't want to be giving them access to like money type things when they're a brand new virtual assistant. So I test virtual assistants really quickly. I break them quickly. So I have a list of test tasks. Again, those, the tagging I do before. Tasks that should take 1 to 2 hours only. That's all they should take. And what I do is when I'm thinking of hiring a virtual assistant, I actually hire 3 or 4 virtual assistants. I give each of them a task that's 1 or 2 hours each, and I do pay them for it. And they're all tasks that need to be done, but I give them all slightly different tasks, but I check the output. What am I getting back? How responsive are they? What's the actual time spent? And I review the results. Yeah. And this way, it gives me a really quick way to test what they're good at and what they can do.
That's really fantastic and I know you have a system for this that you teach people because so many, the whole world is just, and I'm sorry, it's just managers managing remotely. That's the whole reason why they don't get anything out of regular employees, is because they really don't know how to do this. And testing, and not only in marketing and everything in the world, is so important that this is worth it alone.
Yes. Well, and it's nice. It's much easier to test a virtual assistant than an employee. An employee, you got to hire them, through all the forms and everything else. Then you give them like a 90-day trial, like a probation.
Yeah.
And then if you want to fire them, you have to go through like all these. You have to document everything you've done wrong. So you don't have that problem with virtual assistants, which is nice. So, and the other, you've got to really review their work. Especially in the beginning when they're learning, you want to make sure they're using the comments area to update you rather than email. You can check your task management system. Your task management system becomes a dashboard that shows you all the work that's being done by your virtual assistant, so you can see what's going on. And the reason I know this is because I screwed this up badly. I had a membership website, and I hired a local university student, meaning someone I met for coffee. I trained her on how to do support for my system. I was paying her every week. I sent her money every week, and she was a local university student. I thought perfect for her because she can work on her, her time's flexible, right? And I monitored it for 2-3 weeks. She was doing really well, and if she had done something that wasn't quite right, I would put in another comment just to give a little bit more support. She was doing fine. So I kind of forgot about her. I kept sending her the money, but I just assumed my support was being done. And then I finally got an email from somebody who knew me, said, Garland, I'm not getting any answers to my support tickets. I said, really? I logged into the support area and she hadn't replied to support tickets in 3 weeks. But she'd happily taken my money every week. And she never told me. And I get that maybe you're a university student, you might get behind, you may not be able to do it. But if she just sent me a note and said, Garland, I'm just way behind, I'm studying for exams, I can't do this, I'd say no problem, because I still had my son working for me at that point, or I would have done it myself rather than letting a support ticket go unanswered. So this is why regular monitoring doesn't stop, even when you've got a kick-ass virtual assistant who's fantastic, because something can happen. I also had a good WordPress web designer that was fantastic. He just one day just stopped replying to everything, just dropped off the map, and yet I worked with him for a couple of years.
And this is your responsibility as a business owner. So, and it's they have a contractual relationship with you. So, wow.
You got to find out early when things are going wrong, because that work's not being done, and you had clients dependent on that work. That's a problem. And you need to fire people quickly. And it's really easy to do. You just stop sending them tasks. I mean, or end their contract. If you had a contract, end it. Just stop sending tasks. You change any password accesses they have. That's key to make sure that they're not going to be logging in and stuff. And it's much easier to do than having to sit down and tell some poor person who's working full time that you're taking their whole livelihood away from them. It's much less emotional. You can pop off an email. Just say, I don't need your work. I don't need you anymore. I decided to go another direction. Good luck. Goodbye.
Well, actually, I have a question about that. I guess I misunderstood. I thought that some of these, I don't know if it was Upwork or Fiverr, or there was another one a long time ago. I thought that they had account managers for, but that's not the case. You have to go through all this now.
So first off, there's multiple ways to hire a virtual assistant, okay? So if you are hiring a virtual assistant and they're working for you, most virtual assistants they're self-employed people. They are working for multiple clients, not just you. So it's a business. So if you don't like a business anymore, you just stop using it. There's nothing you have to do there. If you go through some companies, agencies they're called, then you hire a virtual assistant agency that may have 2 or 3 different virtual assistants that they might have you working with at different times, depending on Then you would just tell the agency that you're going to stop working with them.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So you can work with either an agency or individually. My assumption here was that most people are going to be working individually, but you might be working with an agency.
I did go with an agency for my project, and it required a commitment, which obviously, you're stuck with then, even though I was unable to really make it work. So that was one of the caveats there.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So be cautious when committing to something like that you're committed to a minimum, say 6 months or 90 days, because you're stuck if they aren't working out. And I've used agencies a couple times, and I've had some bad experiences with agencies. And I deliberately went with an agency because I wanted an account manager, somebody who could hold the virtual assistants accountable. I also wanted that they would be able to provide me with a backup virtual assistant if mine was gone, so that work with an agency. But I'm not saying all agencies are bad. You got to find the right one. So that's but you don't want to do a long-term or large commitment. Do some test tasks. Like I tried one agency and they weren't even replying to I had questions and they weren't even replying to my questions. Why would I keep paying them?
Wow.
So usually firing's easy, but yes, in an agency it might be different. So now here's another trick too, is if you were thinking of hiring a virtual assistant for 30 hours a week, consider hiring 2 virtual assistants at 15 hours a week or 3 at 10 hours instead. So the reason that I'm suggesting this is different skill sets. One of them might be really good at doing book articles. Another one, not so good, but she's really good at internet research or data entry, right? So different skill sets. The other thing is emergency backups. If you have 3 virtual assistants and one of them stops answering, you're not stuck. If your 30-hour-a-week virtual assistant stops answering, you're hooped, because 30 hours of work did not get done this week. So this way, the other 2 can pick up the slack. Either 1 or 2 can pick up the slack.
Cool. Yeah.
And there's kind of a honeymoon phase too. When you get a good virtual assistant, you're really excited. It's fantastic. You know, it's going really well. And you tend to just forget about supervision. Oh, she's really good. I don't need to watch her. She's fantastic. But again, as I said, I've had fantastic people who disappear. Things weren't getting done, you know, so you got to keep maintaining them.
Yeah.
And it's really easy with a good quality task management system. So, expanding your virtual assistant use. So start your virtual assistant on simple tasks that are not going to hurt your clients. So I always start my virtual assistants on my own website, because if they screw up my website, they haven't messed up a client's website. So that way they prove themselves with me. Then once they're proven, then I would have them working with my clients. So you've got to be a really good VA if you're introduced to one of Garland's clients. Then what you can do is bring new VAs to take over the first VA's simpler work that they started with, because your original VA is now working on the harder projects. And this is really easy to do because, of course, you've had all that process documentation going on, right? So the new VAs coming in have it easier because either you or your original virtual assistant set up video documentation or any of the other type of documentation, or simply at least checklists, you know, so that this is going to be really easy to do. Do respect boundaries. Try not calling in weekends or evenings or weekends, or expecting replies on holidays or those kinds of things. You know, I don't like calling a virtual assistant's cell number, even if I have her cell number in the evening or weekend. I like to call during normal work times, if at all possible. And it's tough too with time zones. I mean, some of them are really good and they will agree to work in your time zone, even if they're in a country where it's in the middle of the night. But, you know, for the most part, I find working by asynchronous communication tends to work better for that. And then what I do is I might set up a Zoom chat with them if I do really need to talk to them. But I find a lot of times, because I can pass the stuff to them by video, it's not that hard to, it's really easy to do. Like, you know, the video seems to be such a better way of delegating. So summary. So make sure you're identifying those tasks to delegate. You know, put together a list of tasks so that you've got them all ready to go, to make sure you've got enough to start working with a virtual assistant. Use tagging or whatever your task management system does. Start documenting your processes. As I said, simplest method is checklists, and the video delegating is another great one for that. Delegate using a good quality task management system so that you can put a link to the process documentation, so that you have that nice form factor of priority level, due date, and even estimated hours spent. And that's a key one. Tell your virtual assistant how long you want them to spend on it. I had a case where I had a virtual assistant for 10 hours a week, asked her to research something for me. I thought it'd take an hour or two. She spent the whole 10 hours that week on it. Over a 2-day period. And that's my fault because I hadn't made it clear, but do tell them, can you spend a couple of hours and see what's the best result you can find for this? So that helps. Test your new virtual assistants, hire multiple ones, and then only give, you know, fire quickly the ones you're not going to use, and then give more work to the ones that have proven themselves. Make sure you are continually monitoring and following them up, even if they're good, you know, because they could drop off. And then, you know, once your VA's proven themselves, start giving them more stuff. I've got like what I consider an executive assistant level VA where I can throw her stuff. And it's kind of interesting because I throw her tasks and projects, and other virtual assistants, other good virtual assistants I've worked with in the past will usually work on the project a bit. And then they'll come up with usually some questions, some difficulties, something like that. And they'll ask me and I'll give them some feedback and they'll continue on. This girl blows through and finishes the project. Now, at first that kind of bugged me a bit. Like, why didn't she come to me and ask? But I said, okay, Garland, look at the result. Is the result what is the result what you wanted? Yeah, so what's bugging you, Garland? Well, she didn't do it exactly the way I would have done it, but is the result good quality? Is it? Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, then get over yourself and get the result, pass her the next project, and thank the heavens you have a fantastic virtual assistant. So I had to learn that, because often we get too hung up in the way we would do it, and then we miss out. Sometimes somebody else finds a better or even faster way. And again, respecting the boundaries is just kind of a good way to be dealing with it. And I do have some VAs I'm currently mentoring. So if either of you do need a VA, you can go to my website and click on hire a VA from the top menu and just tell me about your project, and I'll see if I've got anybody I think is
great.
suitable. Now, what happens when you work with one of Garland's VAs, one of my VAs, is are actually hiring me as an agency. I pass the work comes, you and I discuss the work, we work out the best approach to it, and then I pass that work on to the virtual assistant who does the work, and I mentor her throughout it and monitor her throughout it. And I'm setting up training videos and process documentation for how to do common things that clients need, such as search engine optimization or setting up a WordPress website. So they've got a library. There's over 90 videos already in the library that they've got that they can access. So that's,
wow.
So it's a little more money than working, of course, with an overseas virtual assistant in the Philippines or something, because the VAs I'm working with right now are North America based.
Wow.
And I will eventually have some from the Philippines as well, but that's something that can be done. And any hours I'm spending on it, I'm not billing you my normal consulting rate hours, which are quite high. I'm including my hours at the virtual assistant rate, which is insane. But that's the way that I work with the client to get the project figured out. So.
Wow.
I don't think either of you are virtual assistants here, but also I have the VA mentoring program I'm in beta testing right now. But if you know anybody who's a VA who needs mentoring, again, they can go to captaintime.com.
Well, especially with what's going on right now, this could be the hottest ticket for like millions of people.
It could be. And, the benefit with me is my income didn't change. Like I work from home, I work freelance, and my income didn't change. And my executive assistant level virtual assistant is a digital nomad. So she was working for a company, had a good job, but she wanted to travel. So she and I got together and met for coffee, and I told her how this worked, and I gave her some test stuff, and I started passing it to my clients. I think she's got more client work than she has my work right now. So I think I've just about lost her at this point. And I have to train up another one, because that's what happens. The whole reason I'm doing this is I'd find a good virtual assistant and I'd be coaching a client in time management. And a client would say to me, I'd be saying to the client, this stuff could be done by a virtual assistant. These tasks, you shouldn't be doing. They'd say, great, do you know a good one? And they'd look so sad, or they'd be so frustrated that I would just say, here's my virtual assistant, I'll connect you with her. And next thing I know, they've got no hours for me. So that's why I'm mentoring me. Because it's the only way I can keep one for me. I keep passing them off.
That's funny. Brilliant.
So a couple of new, I'm going to do webinars every week now during the COVID thing, just to keep people going. So you're on my list now, so you'll get a notice. But next week I'm doing work from home time tips, because there's a lot of people working from home who used to working from home. And I'm going to cover 10, probably be more than 10, but 10 free productivity tools on Tuesday, April 28th. And the link I sent you that had the link for this session also had a button there for $75 off our five-hour coaching package. So there's a significant savings if you wanted to do some one-on-one time management coaching as well. So if you look for that, you'll be able to find that one. So.
Go ahead.
Yeah, questions?
Well, actually, my question is completely off the bat here, but I was wondering if, with all that you're doing, you could really just have passive income being an agency with somebody else managing it. And I happen to have a friend who's been 19 years doing contact center management, as she calls it, even though, we all know it's customer service or something. You could have her run that, and you could have a whole, you could be another Upwork, except a better experience for us clients,
Yep, you figured out my plan.
To think about.
That's totally the plan.
Duh. Okay, sorry.
No, but no, you that up. Yeah. So that is my goal, is to have an agency, and eventually I'll probably have someone run it. Probably this executive assistant person will be ready to run it by then. This is Notion, just because Dean hadn't seen it, so I thought I'd show him. But so Notion lets you create a page like this on the web. So each of these sections can be either a table or a link or notes or any of those kinds of things. It's very cool because when you go to set up something new like this, you can choose, do I want text? Do I want a page? Do I want a to-do list? Do I want a heading? Do I want a bullet list? Do I want a number list? Do I want a toggle list, a divider? Do I want to have table, board, gallery, calendar? Do I want to put an image in, a web bookmark, a video, an audio, code, embed a PDF, a Google Drive document, Google Maps? It's just crazy.
Gee, I didn't even know that about Notion. Wow.
Yeah, so it's great. And then, so this is a test test task management system I set up within Notion. So it's a table. So when I click on these, I can open it and I can fill out anything. I can add comments in here to say, so this is where all the comments would be for my virtual assistant. So I would never have to, again, look for email. You can add notes down here or any of those other types of things, videos or anything else. You can add them all right in there. I can also look at this with different views. So this is kind of like a main view that shows everything. And you see, I do some weird things. Like I set up a priority level, focus level, project. But when I click on the view here, let's say I wanted to look at only the marketing tasks. So it shows me only the marketing tasks. And any of these as well, these are just created by filtering. So I've just filtered this that the project is marketing. You can also sort it by, do you want to sort it by priority descending? So here, so it's automatically priority sequence, it's automatically there. And this lets me go down to any task. If I want to find all my low energy tasks, things that could do like at 2:30 in the afternoon when no matter how much coffee I have, I can't get going. So this would call up all of those simple tasks.
Wow.
Again, you can tag. So if I wanted to tag here for a virtual assistant, I can create a tag for virtual assistant. So that's Notion. What was the other one I mentioned? Dynalist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to do everything in Dynalist. It's like my go way to do webinars and things like that. So this is the curriculum I'm putting together for the virtual assistants. So the green ones have already been the video's already done. The yellow one I'm doing in PowerPoint, and the orange ones are yet to do. But as an example, when I open this up, it's an outline, right? So you can easily add different things here to this. So I'll just do a demo one here. So you can tick things off. You can use checklists. You can use tab to go a level deeper, or shift tab to pull it out. So you can pull them back and forth that way. You can go alt to move things up, like alt up arrow. So you can move things all around using Dynalist. Over here is a whole list of formatting commands, like if you want to make things keyboard shortcuts to make things bold or toggle or move. So years ago, I used a program called PC Outline, and that was my first experience with outlining. And it's fantastic to be able to get something this easy to use again. And this is a free tool. I mean, there is a paid version, but I haven't so far needed it. So whenever I'm doing a new article or like the work from home tips, like I'm starting it there, right? And you can create folders. So that's the other one there. Loom is hard for me to show because if I show Loom, it wants my, it might crash and wants my webcam, but it's just a really lovely, easy system to be able to show there. Was there any other one I
think we were talking about Asana or Monday.
Yeah, I don't regularly use them. Monday has kind of got a really neat process, though. I quite like how their process works that way. I can show you on Loom. I can show you how the videos turn out. Oops. Okay. No.
Yeah, one other one that we use in the content world is AirStory or Airtable, but I mean, they're all just so many flavors of the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, Airtable is very similar to Notion. So I often describe Airtable as Notion meets, as Notion as Airtable meets Wiki is what I sometimes call it, because it gives you the Wiki-like environment as well, where you can do that. Whereas Airtable is fantastic for just, for just being able to do that. So, and that's that, yeah. So that's really the benefit of being able to assign, so you can just assign this to whoever's on your list here, and then you can, that's going to show up in, it's going to show up in their task system. So they're going to automatically see it. So. Any other questions about this?
Oh, sorry. I was just thinking you have to buy like a team membership or something for Notion so that they can have the same thing show up in theirs.
Yeah, Notion lets you look at some things without, like, you can share a template and stuff, but you probably would have to do that. So now Notion has a free version, but it's pretty limited. Most people end up running out of space pretty quickly, like 2 weeks. But the personal is $4 a month, so it's very affordable. Team is $8 per member per month. But remember, that's active. So if you had two virtual assistants, then that's probably you plus you. That'd be $24 a month in that case. So
but this is your favorite to use with Dynalist?
I use Dynalist separately. Dynalist is what I use for note-taking and outlining and planning. Notion has been what I've been using for task management. I've got a new one I'm using a bit for task management, but it's not as powerful, but I just love the interface. So I'm kind of torn on this one, right?
ZenKit, yeah.
This is ZenKit To Do. So ZenKit To Do is like a cut down version of ZenKit, but it's such a lovely little system here. So as an example, if I go to content and I want to add, like, so I'm going to, this is content pieces I want to do. So this is like ZenKit To Do and a review and a Dynalist review I want. And if I click on any of these, I can choose to star it, or if I click on it, it gives me this window. I can do a due date or a reminder. I can also do a recurring one on this. I can add a subtask. I can add notes, attachments, and comments. So it's got a lot of what I'm looking for. What it doesn't have is a way to set priority levels. So this is great for a personal to-do for me, but I don't think it would work as my way of assigning to other people. So I've been testing it out, and I've been using it as one for me. The other cool thing is this today thing is, when it's empty, it doesn't show here at all. But when you add something to today, like it shows up for today, automatically this folder drops in there, today and week. So those are automatically created, so which is kind of cool. You can star items, which is one way of sort of designating stuff you might want to assign or something like that, or priority. But overall, first off, this is I really like it. I like it a lot, so much that it's just feels like easier to use than Notion. But I think if I was doing something where I had to assign to other people, I would probably use Notion. I do love Trello as well. Like, Trello has some real benefits. I'm not a fan of the Kanban myself. So like that kind of card-based system, but for people who are more visual, it's really a fantastic way to work.
The thing that I think that people love about the Kanban is that they can see what they've accomplished, because most people tend to forget that, and they keep thinking, oh, I've got all these to-do items, and it doesn't give them any motivation. However, one question I want to ask before I mute this, because there's a lot of noise here, is how much time do you spend a day or a week on all this planning? Because you're really good at it, and we're just not.
Well, first off, okay, when you're planning a task, let's say I have a new task to do, it's going to have to go somewhere, whether it's on your notepad on your desk or somewhere. So all it does is you just have to take the time to write it, right? So if I go here to let's go create list, let's go demo. So if I go here, so you're gonna have to add a task somewhere. So to me, and first off, I can't read my own handwriting because it's horrible. So adding any sort of a task, like research new task management tool.
Well, I guess I was just asking how much time do you spend on project management, because you've got all this to do, you've got the virtual assistants, and then you're, creating content and
a lot of work to do work.
Time blocks. Okay, so I work in 30-minute time blocks with a focused timer. So what happens is I get up in the morning, I open my email, but only to see if there's anything urgent in it. Like I just scan it. I don't work in my email because email is easy to do because it's something I can work on easily in the afternoon. My best time first thing in the morning is when I work on my hardest, most difficult projects. So first thing in the morning, I get up and I say, okay, what is it that I'm going to do right now? So then what I do is I go to my task management list and I pull up whatever that project is. So let's say that project's marketing. Then what I do is I work on the first task for 30 minutes or until complete. If I finish the first task in 10 minutes, then I go to the next task and so on. So I work through for a full 30 minutes on marketing until when the 30-minute timer goes off, I stand up, stretch for a moment, maybe grab another coffee, then I come back and I go do 30 minutes on the next project, which might be something like content development or whatever it's going to be. So project management to me is not something I do separately. I'm working on the project. Project management is just part of it. So then just ticking the status or adding a note to the project. So let's say if I was working on this marketing plan, and so where am I at on it? What have I done? So I might go here, started marketing planning in Dynalist. So now I know the next time I open that, I see there's a comment there, I open it and then I go, oh, I started the marketing plan in Dynalist. So I go to Dynalist to do next, because I won't necessarily remember next week what it was I had done in that task. So that's where the comments are key, is continually updating when you're finished, when your 30-minute timer goes off, write down where you're at with that. And Notion, works really well for laying out almost any of these. Like let's go to let's go video content. So one really cool thing I've done here is this is what I use for my content. So these are all the different steps I go through when I'm doing a new piece of content. I do keyword research. I determine what title I'm going to use to be optimized for the search engine. I add that keyword title to my tracking so I know where it is. I write it. I record it if it's a video, I edit it, then I upload it to YouTube, then I optimize it using Tubix, then I broadcast it to my list using email. If it was a PowerPoint, I upload it to SlideShare, then I do promo, add it to my coaching program, and so on. And I do these steps for each one, and I can see at a glance where I'm at with that particular piece of content. So if I was to do this one, how to use a topic outline for planning, I've done the keyword research tracking, but I haven't started writing it yet. And if
wow, that's fantastic.
I would put in here if I'd started the writing. So that's, to me, project management takes no time, if you get my drift, because it's part of the project. It's not separate from. And people might say, well, I couldn't spend all that time doing that. And I'm going, well, how do you know when how much time do you waste next time when you open up your task and you don't know? How do you even know what task to work on next? And so I never, ever have to think about what do I work on next, because it's all laid out in my task management system.
Gosh, I bought so many courses from you on Udemy. I don't remember which ones they are, but I really hope I bought your brain, because this is insane. This is amazing.
So that's
yes, it is.
That's how to work with a virtual assistant. You want to make sure that you're going through what I've summarized there, the testing, identifying what you need first, setting up process documentation, delegating using a task management system, testing them, firing them, monitoring them, and then increasing their responsibilities once proven. Like I don't ever hire a virtual assistant and throw them into my hardest, most difficult task, because that's probably not fair to them either. So. Any questions while we wrap up?
No.
I don't have any more questions. I think this was absolutely amazing. And I'm going to let a lot of people know about your service, because there's nothing that can replace what you've gone through to get here. you know.
Fantastic. Yeah. And please do share the upcoming webinars with other people and, send them to my website, because I'm always happy to help. And I do a little free 20-minute session with somebody if they're thinking of coaching and they're not quite sure if I'm the right coach for them, because not everybody connects with everybody as a coach. Like, it's a very personal choice. So sometimes, you have to do that. So.
And you'll let us know when you're starting your agent, when the agency is launching, right?
Oh, the agency's ready anytime you're ready. So again, if you have a project, you just go to my website, go to hire a VA, or just, you can hit the contact button and do it that way.
Yeah.
But essentially, you just go down, put in your name, email address, what kind of help you're looking for, what kind of services, it's be a project overview, and then we'll talk, like, and it's a free, it's a free estimate, like, which to do. And I've got multiple VAs. So the idea is that, we can figure out which one's going to work best for you, depending on what you're looking for. Right. So.
Wow. This is a real godsend. So, thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next session. Please help me get the word out.
Yes.
That would be awesome. And we'll sign off and see you next time.
Thank you again.
Great. Thanks,
all right.
Garland.
Everybody stay safe.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.